Hello and welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am your hostess, Courtney Anderson, and I am delighted to have everyone here. I also have a wonderful opportunity today where I'm going to have one of my extraordinary team members serving as a co-host. That will be Joanna Shoemate. Joanna Shoemate will be on the show today as a co-host. So this is a really exciting episode. We have a fantastic question that came in from someone who was part of a program, a live event program that we put on at a client site. And so many times when I do these private events for corporate or business clients, of course I don't always get an opportunity to answer all of the questions that everybody has. So people frequently take the opportunity to follow up with me and let me know what's on their mind, see if there's anything that I can do to be of continued assistance. So I want to take a moment here to formally welcome Joanna Shoemate. Joanna, are you here?
I am, Courtney. It's great to be here with you this afternoon and with everyone that's listening. Thanks so much for including me.
Oh, well, you know, we are so fortunate here at Courtney Anderson and Enterprises, actually is the formal name of our business. We do so much, and Joanna, you are the key to so many of our live events for private clients and organizations and for our public events. And yes, so it's fantastic for everybody to get to know you a little bit better here on our show. So again, I want to thank you for serving today as co-hostess extraordinaire. And my understanding is that you have some of this content that came in from a member of our community. And again, members of our community are the reason we're here. You know, we're here for solutions. And again, this was someone who took part in a live private event for a client, and you have, I think it's a multi-part email, if I'm correct. So I think we've got to try to make this as clear and simple. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you, let you read sort of, I guess, the first part of this multi-part email, and let's start talking about some solutions. That's why we're here. All right.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to say really quickly that anyone who's had the extreme pleasure of seeing you on stage performing and talking about all of these issues has had a major plus in their lives because of it. And this particular person has seen you and has asked a question that I think happens more often than not. It deals with victim mentality on the job. And she does have many different parts of it. So let me just read a little bit of what she said. She's talking about a coworker that has a victim mentality, and she wants to know how one should deal with a person who does not take personal responsibility for their inability to do their job. And how do you deal with that when it approaches a multitude of tasks and an attitude of negativity?
Wow.
Yeah.
Joanna, that's a really heavy question. I mean,
it is a heavy
when I talk about heavy, I mean in terms of the substance, it's a lot. So let's start at the very beginning. Can you read back that first part of the question, just the first part, and let's start with that first part.
How do you deal with a person who does not take personal responsibility for their inability to do their job?
Wow. All right. So one of the things that, you know, that you touched on, Joanna, in the question is this concept of victim mentality. And that was actually part of the program that I put on at this live event. And we certainly have other resources that explain it a little bit more in detail because this is the core, you know, of so many of the challenges and the stress and I don't want to call them problems, but, you know, the issues that need to be addressed that members of our community face. So just really quickly, the victim mentality is this mindset that a person will have where they literally view the entire universe through this lens, okay? So they look out through this little magnifying lens to the world, and they look out and everything they see reminds them that they are a victim. Everything they see reminds them they are a victim. So this victim mentality is where someone literally gets up in the morning, they brush their teeth, they wash their face, and all of a sudden the first thoughts in their mind are about them being a victim. What are they a victim of? They might be a victim of traffic. Maybe they're a victim of bad weather. Maybe they're a victim of a bad boss. Maybe they're a victim, but they're a victim. And so that forms the entire structure and apparatus for how they move through their personal and their private life. So I talk about that in a lot of our different programs, both on our client sites and, of course, through the resources we provide for our community members. And so that was part of what this fantastic question our community member posed, was about this victim mentality. And then you talked about, Joanna, personal responsibility. Read one more time. What was that first part of the question?
It says, how do you deal with a person who does not take personal responsibility for their inability to do their job?
Well, Joanna,
beautifully worded too.
it's verbatim what the community member asked us, and it's just a bit heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's a bit heartbreaking because you and I, you have a very long and amazing professional career and personal life of success as a mother to two now very successful adult children. And so we listen to a question like that and we think, do people exist who don't take personal responsibility? We don't know. Who are those people? Where are they? But as our community member, brought up very accurately, they do exist. And as you just said, the community member asked us, how do you deal with them when they don't take personal responsibility? Let's first address that. Wow. How can someone not take personal responsibility for their actions? And to be really clear again, we're not trying to use any, elaborately sophisticated, definition. But personal responsibility is, just very simply the idea that the things I say and the things that I do that are voluntary. So, that I don't have some sort of, mental or physical illness or condition that would make them, involuntary. But assuming that they're voluntary, they're thoughts that I had in my mind that became words that came out of my mouth. There are ideas I had in my mind that became behavior. And the idea that someone wouldn't accept that they are responsible for what they say and what they do, it really is astounding. But as this powerful question shows us, it's real. So how do we deal with them? They don't take personal responsibility. And as you said at the end, Joanna, you talked about their inability to do their job. Joanna, just to make sure that our community members are fully embraced into our worldview and into our perspective with our company and then the resources we provide for our people. Joanna, have you ever had a situation where you were unable to do your job? Has that ever happened to you?
Actually, yes. I was assigned something that I had no idea how to do. It was above my level of expertise. Yes. But when it happened, I did two things. I said, I don't know how to do this, so I owned up to the fact that I was not able to do it, and then I went looking for the answers to how to do it.
I mean, that's exactly it. I asked that question, Joanna, and we sort of were being a bit, dishonest in that everybody has faced a situation where we're unable at that moment to perform a work task. That's happened to everybody. It's happened to me. It's happened to you. And I've been working since I was a teenager. You've been working since you were a very young person. So we've had a variety of jobs. Sure. And throughout that experience, there's always been a moment where, I know when I was working delivering pizza when I was really young, they came to me and they were talking to me about how to, fold the pizza boxes because they come in sort of these flat pieces of cardboard. And it seems simple, right? Like you would, it's a flat piece of cardboard, fold it, and then put the pizza in there. But there's a certain way it needed to be folded. And I didn't know initially. At that moment, I did not know. I was a little bit unable to do that task until someone came and showed me, here's the right way. Fold this part here first and then fold that part second. And then I was like, wow, okay, now I'm able to do my job, right? And as you said, we both had to take responsibility in that moment and acknowledge, I need help. I need to ask someone. I need someone to show me. I need to be very honest with myself that this is a moment that requires action. It requires action to solve it. So the core issue is that when we're dealing with someone who is not taking personal responsibility, that is a choice.
Joanna, it goes on to say things, too, like she said that the victim's lack of taking personal responsibility leads to blaming coworkers for their failure.
Well, to be very succinct, it is a choice for someone to not take responsibility, right?
Sure.
So
yes,
having an inability to do our job for a moment or for a period of time, maybe where it's a new job or a new task or there's something different that we've been asked to do, that's normal. I mean, that's just like life, right? There's always something I don't know how to do. I'm just going to either ask or learn or take the time to practice my skills. So if someone's refusing to take responsibility and they're looking through life through that lens we said when they brush their teeth, they say, I'm a victim. It's not my fault I woke up late. It's somebody else's fault, And the question then is, how do we deal with them? And this kind of lack of personal responsibility results in them blaming other people. The key thing that we need to understand when we're trying to work with someone like that is this is a choice. It is absolutely a choice. So, again, excluding someone who may have some sort of, mental or physical, condition, a medical condition, absent that, this is absolutely their choice. It's their choice to make the decisions that they're not going to be accurately and appropriately prepared for the job, and it's their choice not to take responsibility. Now, the key thing that life is, there's so much of life that we love, Joanna, because when we work with solutions and trying to assist people, one of the things that we try to do is provide, really bright guidelines because there's so much information in the world, right? I'm overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed. Members of our community are overwhelmed. So the core question that the community member is really asking is, why do people do what they do, right? Why does someone have an inability to do their job? That's not unusual or anything weird about that. That's normal, right? But why do they then have this mentality that they're a victim and then refuse to take responsibility for what they're doing or not doing, and then turn around and blame other people, right? Like that's,
exactly.
Wow, and you can just, Joanna, we can imagine, being the fly on the wall in that office, right? So here's that person, they woke up in the morning, blaming somebody else, the world, the universe, the weather, the freeway, their car, oh, it's not my fault I woke up late. It's not my fault that, I have to do all this and get to this job, and then they get to the job, right? And now we're the fly on the wall. And so the coworker goes up to them and asks them about maybe a report they were supposed to get submitted. And instead of them going through a logical process like most of us do and thinking, okay, the report, where am I in the process of that? What's the deadline? And then, crafting an answer, this person, this victim mentality person, will turn around and lash out, right? They'll lash out at the other person at work and say things like, why are you coming to me with this? This isn't my responsibility. Don't you remember that Jim, reassigned that to you? I can't believe you. It's not my fault. I have too much on my plate already. That's the kind of thing they do. They blame other people, right? And so when we start to work through that, and I said a few minutes ago, and sometimes, we get feedback of all stripes, which is what we should do. But one of the things that we have focused on and, that I've done in the last 12 years and you've been doing with me for the last several years being part of this organization is we really do try to come up with, short, concise guidelines. Yeah, they're big picture guidelines, they're snapshot guidelines, and then within that framework we can help people be more detailed and work down, to the most elemental level of an issue and, and craft, more sophisticated solutions. So the question is, why does someone do what they do? And the answer is a two-part answer, and I hate to be so simple, but why do they do what they do? One, because they want to. Two, because they're allowed to, period.
Yep. It is so simple, isn't it?
It's that simple. Why do they do that? One, because they want to. Two, because they're allowed to. So why does someone have a victim mentality? Because they want to. Because it's much easier for me to do victim mentality than it is for me to do personal responsibility. And one of the things I've talked about over, the years has been an easy example. I've done it myself. I've gone myself, Joanna, especially when we're doing so many live events and we're traveling and, and I've gone to go pick something out that I think, oh, I'll wear this on the plane or I'll wear this at the event, and I pull it out of my closet, a nice pair of pants or, some nice blue jeans I haven't worn in a while, and I'll pull them up, Joanna, and I'll start pulling them up, and I'll get to a point usually right around my hips, and I'm pulling them up, and I start kind of jumping up and down a little bit, and something's wrong. It seems like they're a little stuck, like they won't quite, come all the way up and zip, as I envisioned they would. And in that moment, it's really easy for me, and I'm owning up to this, Joanna, I am owning up to it with you, I'm owning up to it with our community. It's easy in that moment when things won't quite come up over my hips and allow me to zip them, when I'll do a moment of victim mentality. And I'll sit there and I'll think to myself, oh my goodness, I must have set that dryer too high. That dryer must be broken. The dryer must have shrunk these pants. I can't believe this is so crazy. The last time I pulled these pants on, they just went right on. They were so comfortable. And now I'm trying to get them on, and the dryer must be broken. I can't believe the dryer did this to my pants. Now what am I going to wear on the plane? That's a victim mentality, Joanna. The reality is that the dryer didn't malfunction. The dryer didn't create the situation with my pants not coming up. Joanna, the reality is I created that situation. Personal responsibility requires me to acknowledge that the actions I've been taking with my hand and the nutrition or lack thereof I've been ingesting and the lack of my exercise program has resulted in me gaining some inches or some weight, and that's why I can't get my pants on. I mean, now, Joanna, what's easier for me? Just me as a human being. You and I are humans. We're humans. What's easier for me as a human? One, for me to think to myself, you know, I'm a victim. This dryer did this bad thing to me, and now I can't get my clothes on, but it's not my fault. Is that easier? Or is it easier for me to think, you know what, I probably hadn't been watching my portions, and I hadn't been to the gym in a while for my class for Zumba. What's easier, the dryer, I'm a victim of it, or, maybe I needed to do more with my nutrition and health? What's easier, Joanna?
Well, of course it's easier to blame the dryer.
Yeah, because, you know, let's be really honest with our community members. One, it makes me feel that it's not my fault, right? It's not my fault the dryer did this to my clothes. I'm just an innocent third party. You know, I'm just somebody totally different. I'm not the dryer, the person or the entity that did the bad thing. You know, I'm not even the poor pants who the bad thing was done to. They were shrunk. I'm just some other third party who's just trying to have a good day and find some clothes to wear for the plane. Now I can't do it. So that makes me feel free of responsibility. It also makes me feel that there's nothing I could do to fix it, right? I mean, I guess I could buy a new dryer, you know, or I could call the dryer repair guy or lady to come out and help fix the dryer, or I could buy new pants.
Get you off the hook for that minute anyway.
Joanna, thank you. That's it. It's so easy. Like, now I'm done. I don't have to do anything. I can keep eating what I'm doing. I can keep not going to the gym like I'm doing, and it's not anything that I have any control over. I'm a victim of it. And let's be very real with our community. You know, we focus on this show and in so many of our resources, we focus on being, you know, informed, right? Not outraged. Right. We're informed, not outraged. And that's hard. You know, it's so much easier to be outraged. It's so much easier to be a victim, right? And then to be outraged. I'm outraged at my dryer. I'm outraged at my pants, right? It's so easy because then I have somewhere to put that anger. I have somewhere to put that frustration, and then my life is easy. I don't have to do anything different. And, you know, so we don't want to be unrealistic when we talk about people who have a victim mentality at work and who blame other people, because none of us are immune to the intoxicating allure of not taking responsibility for our actions. It's there all the time. And so we have to be really, again, honest in a concrete, simple two-step program. It's a two-step program. Why do we do what we do? It's because we want to and we're allowed to. So, you know, when it comes to, you know, my nutrition and my exercise program and, you know, just making sure I'm staying healthy, you know, my desires, what I want to do and what I'm allowed to do. And it's the same thing at work. The beauty of this, Joanna, that you and I know being, you know, we're nice-aged people, but we're not teenagers anymore. You know, we can let the community know that. Joanna and I are over 18. And, you know, as you get a little bit older in life, you've been through things, and we realize that the beauty of being honest with ourselves is it gives us the choices to really create the life that we desire. And so even if it's something as simple as the example with, those pants won't quite go on, if instead I'm honest with myself and I sit there and think, wait a minute, you know, what have you been eating lately? When's the last time you went to the gym? And if I'm honest with myself and I think, wait a minute, I did have that piece of cake, that's okay. But I also, the day before that, had, you know, several pieces of pizza. Well, that's okay. But what did I have the day before that? You know, it's not the one thing. It's this bigger picture. If I start to think about my choices, then I can think, wait a minute. I know what I need to do to watch my portions and, you know, to make sure I'm getting my exercise in. And then before I know it, I'll do that with my portions like I need to. I'll make sure I'm eating healthy choices and getting my exercise in, and my pants will fit. And I don't need to spend any money on a new dryer or a dryer repair person. And it's the same thing with the person at work with victim mentality. even though in the moment it's very easy to be the victim because it gives you that freedom and you sit there and think, what? Not me. What? Who? What? In the longer term, it is absolutely a choice that will imprison people. It will imprison people. And, we sort of make light sometimes of the outcomes of what people bring us as challenges and obstacles. But it's not really funny. So when our community member wrote us about how do we deal with the person who does not take personal responsibility for their inability to do their job, how do you deal with them when they have that attitude of negativity that you mentioned earlier, Joanna, and how do you deal with them when they blame other people, their coworkers, for their failure to do their job? The reality is they're going to do what they want to do and what they're allowed to do. You and I, Joanna, cannot control what anyone else wants other than ourselves, right?
Right.
So I can control what I want, you can control what you want, but I can't control what you want, and you can't control what I want. If we could, then we'd be the most powerful people in the universe, and we'd be able to control other people's minds and thoughts and desires. And at this point, I don't know how to do that. So I completely, implore our community members to ignore the first part of that two-part issue. So two-part issue, why do they do what they want? Why do they do what they do? Because they want to, because they're allowed to. The first part is why, because they want to. We cannot control or impact what they want to do. They are individual, autonomous human beings, and they're going to want what they want. Fine. The second part, though, is where what we do with the professional focus of some of our resources and with the events, like the event for this client, this private client event where the community member wrote in after it. When we talk about work, though, we can't control what they're allowed to do. And that's what so much of what we do focuses on, what they're allowed to. And, of course, who allows them to do things at work? Well, your coworkers to some extent, right? But more than that, your managers, your supervisors have the ability to control what you're allowed to do. So if somebody comes to work and they have the inability to do their job and their manager allows them to keep coming to work and not doing their job, then whose fault is that really? I'm going to argue, and, in our resources, and sometimes, Joanna, you see what I see. Sometimes we get, feedback that says, well, we put too much responsibility on management and leadership. Maybe, that's debatable. But we come from a position in this organization and with our resources and the solutions we provide clients that leadership means something. And it's sort of, it's analogous, and we do these analogies a lot. And you're a very successful parent, Joanna, so this you can really speak to. But, we're out in the grocery store, right? And we see a parent maybe at the end of the day, and they've got a younger child, not a baby, but a younger child, and the child starts throwing a temper tantrum, right? Grabbing things off the shelves, mommy, throwing them on the floor, mommy. Okay. Now, all of us realize we were all young once, right? Joanna, you and I, we were both 8 years old at one time. We were both 8 years old. And not that long ago, right? But so it's okay. Young people are developmental, going through a process, and so they have moments where they have these desires where they want to scream or they want to act out, and that's not their fault. They're a child. So I never think anything negative of a young person that you see out because that's part of human development, and it's not their fault, right? The issue is why are they allowed to? So you and I know that parent has a couple of choices. The parent's in a leadership position. Maybe that's going to be a time that shopping trip's going to have to be cut short, right? And then maybe there's some sort of relationship the parents already instilled in the child where they can do a timeout there and help the child understand that this is not the behavior at this time and place. But I don't ever fault the young person. I fault the leader, and it's the same thing at work. If there's somebody in a job that's unable to do the job and refuses to learn how to do the job and is blaming other coworkers, that hurts morale, right? Yeah. Why are they allowed to continue to do that? Why are they allowed to continue to do that? And that's the issue we have with leadership. And so much of what we do is helping people in leadership positions understand what the tools and techniques are that they need to implement so that the non-victim mentality people at work, like the person in our community who wrote in this outstanding question, right? They're taking responsibility. They're trying to do their job and have a good day. We want to make sure they're surrounded.
Right. And the interesting thing about when people that do take responsibility for their actions and for their career in general and people around them, they aren't the type that would go to management and say, these people aren't doing their job. They aren't doing their responsibleness. They're not being, they're acting like victims, and they're unlikely to do that, which then gives management only one side of the picture, where they have this person coming to them all the time, the victim person, saying, whine, and
yes,
all is going wrong, everybody hates me, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So, it's a difficult situation for the person who is a good worker, who does want to do good on the job, and who doesn't want to spend half their time trying to deal with and or gripe about the person that's making their lives complicated.
Well, one of the things that we really have focused on since the very beginning when we started, when I started this business, is about being pragmatic. And it's one of the core foundations of this entire practice, this whole consulting and speaking practice, is that we're pragmatic, we're passionate, and we're problem solvers. The pragmatism part is you got to face reality. So if the reality is people do what they want to and what they're allowed to do, and you're not allowed to have any impact on what they're allowed to do because you're not a manager, right? You're just a peer. Then the reality is, to be pragmatic, I'd start planning. And when I say planning, and when we talk to our community about that, we have to always remember we're, as we said, ultimately responsible for our career and our choices and our success and our family and our lives. So if we're in an environment where management permits someone to be in a job that they refuse to do or refuse to learn how to do, that's problem one. Then we're in a job where, in addition to the fact that they don't know how to do or refuse to learn how to do their job, they also want to sit there and complain about it and blame other people, right? And then, as you brought up, Joanna, there's nothing a victim loves more than attention. Like if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? If I scream about the dryer shrinking my pants in an empty house, nobody gets to feel sorry for me. It's much better if there's someone there to listen to me complain and cry about how the dryer did this to me and now I can't wear my favorite pants. It's even better if I call some of my friends, right, and tell them about, I was trying to get ready for my trip and I pulled those pants out, those navy ones I really liked, and it wouldn't go on. The dryer is broken. There's nothing better than a victim needs an audience. It's more fun that way, right? I need someone else to feel sorry for me and see all these horrible things that have happened to me. So as you said, Joanna, for the people that are the non-victims that are doing their job, I don't want to be surrounded by that. And the pragmatic answer is I need to start planning. Now, it may be that the powers that be, the leaders and the managers, take the responsibility and start implementing the tools to ensure that everybody knows how to do their job, or if they don't know, they know who to ask, and that we can see progress, and that we also learn to take responsibility and at least at the minimum not spread that whiny noise around the office when other people are trying to do their own tasks, and they don't want to throw a pity party for me. So we start planning. And again, one of the pragmatism is one of the core values of our organization and of everything that we do. And we understand that some members of our community think, well, my goodness, that's that's a little harsh. But on the other hand, like you said, Joanna, we don't want members of our community to be in a negative position. I don't want somebody who's a hard worker and focused and passionate and intelligent and driven to be in an environment where they're dealing with somebody who's unable or unwilling to do their job, and on top of that, they're whining and wasting their time complaining and blaming them. That's not fair to our member of our community. That's not fair to them. So, things can change at any minute. Everything in life is very fluid. So there may be a new manager that comes in. There may be, a light bulb that goes off where someone realizes, wait a minute, we want to keep great people. We want to ensure that we got people here that are invested in their own success. That could happen, but if it doesn't, we want to encourage members of our community to invest in some of our resources and to take the steps that they need to take to ensure that they're setting themselves up and setting up a plan for their long-term success. But, Joanna, this community member did us all a service. And, again, I want to encourage everybody to go, to CourtneyAnderson.com and, submit an idea, submit a show idea, because we get these ideas, from the members of the community. Of course, you and I hear them when we're on site doing live events. We hear them all the time, but we get them from you. So please come to CourtneyAnderson.com and let us know what's on your mind, and there's nothing that we want more than that joy, the joy of all of our individual members of our community. And, Joanna, as you know, our campaign this year and some of our resources we're rolling out is all about practicing the joyful art of business, the joyful art of business. And part of that is, of course, having individual community members thriving in healthy work environments. So, Joanna Shoemate, I want to thank you for co-hosting today this episode of Solutions with Courtney Anderson. You, as always, insightful, amazing, powerful woman, and I want members of our community to understand that you live exactly the things that we talk about on this show. We work together, daily, 5 days a week, and I look up to you. You're a role model, and having you on the show is amazing. We have just a little bit left, just a few seconds. I want to, again, thank you, Joanna. I want to thank all of our listeners of our community, and I want to encourage people to go to CourtneyAnderson.com. Thank you.
Thank you.